This is what we call mare's tail. Some people may know it as horseweed. It's the devil. Good morning, guys. How's it going? We're back at the farm today, working on some stuff, waiting for parts for our disc ripper. I'm hoping that those come this afternoon. You know, Greenmark's got their little parts drop shed out here, so they'll bring them right to me, which is good. So this morning I'm going to run around and do a little bit of seed business stuff. I'm going to drop off some flyers for my field day that's coming up. I got a box to pick up from somebody that I had no idea I still had. I'm not sure what happened there. I'll talk about that later. And if I got time, I'll clean up a little bit around my seed warehouse yet. But before I go and do that, I wanted to update you guys or talk about these bearings a little bit more, because I get a lot of comments on some of my other videos about them. And I just want to address a couple of those things. First of all, I said that the races were not replaceable, and this is the hub, and I'm going to show you guys this as best that I can. Let me even turn the light on. I know there's a line there, but it's a groove for a seal to sit in. There is no way that race comes out of there, and it's not hardened. Like, it's rusty. There's no chrome to it. It's kind of cone shaped. I don't know. Like, yeah, it does not come out. And likewise on the bearings, this is one race of the bearings. Some guys had said look up the bearing numbers and go buy them. You're right, that's exactly what I was going to do. No numbers on that race, nothing on that side. Like, there's nothing, there's no distinguishing marks whatsoever on these things. That one's still got part of a seal in it. So my instinct was, we'll just go buy bearings somewhere and put them in, right? But no good. There are some numbers here. If any of you guys can make any sense of those, feel free. Find me this part. But I couldn't. And the only other number on the whole thing was this one that's on that cap. And that is just the deer part number. So, I don't know. Not real thrilled about it. I'm still working with the dealer trying to get them to do something for us, but it doesn't look promising. What I did find, though, is I think I kind of showed yesterday a little bit, but basically that bearing fits in there, and then this fits on like this, and then there's a seal that goes in here. I took apart a good one yesterday. I don't think I showed that. I'll put a picture up here, and you can see that seal where it fits around and actually seals dirt out. Well, the ones that were bad, this one, the other two over there, that seal was non-existent. And I don't know if it never got put in or if it just broke and was gone, or what the deal was. I don't know, but clearly subpar quality, not good. It also would be good to have a grease zerk on them. You're right, I completely agree with that. However, the whole point of this thing was to try and reduce the maintenance on it so that you don't have to do as much greasing and stuff. So there are very few on here, and they don't need greased often at all. Plus, this is going to run in the dirt. You put a grease zerk on there, it's going to wear off, or it's going to get dirt in it, or whatever. So I'm not thrilled about this, but we're going to get it back together and make it work. So, oh, one other update. You guys know that pulley that we replaced on our Traveler that was wobbling and the shaft was all wallered out? I'll show you. This one here, this is the old one. Well, I took this apart and I managed to get this hub out of the center here. That's the hub that kind of fits on the motor shaft, the part that was really worn, because the rest of this is in okay shape. And I found out how much this thing costs. Anybody want to take a guess? I'll wait while you put your comments in down below. How much you think this piece cost? The new one that we put on. Here's that hub that I got out. I don't know if I'll be able to find one of these or not. It's a little more specialized part than I was anticipating. But this here, you can see how worn this is. This is some of that JB Weld in the key shaft where I tried to make it work, and it did make it work for a while. But basically, if I could get a new one of these, then I could put that pulley back together and have a spare. That pulley with this piece, $800. $800. Unbelievable. Not only did I have to wait a month to get it, it cost me $800. Unreal. So, Dad had not really a hose, but this piece that holds these hoses broke on him on the backhoe here. I think he's got it fixed up. He's spreading some chaff again today, or straw. He's seeded down his other waterway over there that we were looking at the other day. So maybe later we'll go over there. But right now I'm going to go drop some flyers off, invitations to my meeting, and pick up a box. Well, I'm doing pretty good today. I've found several people to talk to, handed off some flyers. People act like they're going to come. We'll see if anybody actually shows up or not. But I am also at our farm down to Berkey and wanted to look at our corn down here. It's dry. It's real dry. It's not looking pretty here so far. It's about noon. It is not hot. Overcast. Well, kind of partly cloudy, I guess. Sometimes the sun's out and it gets sort of warm, but this corn is fired. Oh, big time. Not good here, guys. Surprisingly, we actually pollinated halfway decent. They're just short, tiny little ears. We boarded a bunch of kernels off the tip. They're dented. This is really early corn. This is 100-day corn, so it's some of the earliest stuff that we've got. So it's gonna be drier, it's gonna mature faster. Let's see if I can break this. Yeah, just dented in the last few days here. Those kernels got some depth. It's not terrible for what it is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That's 20 around. Yeah. Awfully brown, fired way up the stalk. So the corn plants are cannibalizing these bottom leaves basically to feed the ear. And once it gets up to this ear leaf, this one that's on the same node as the ear, you got problems, and we're even well above that. Tough. It looks tough. Walking out here a little farther off the sand ridge, it looks a little bit better in spots. Some of it, the stand is pretty thin. And then you get more spots that are burn up really bad. Oh, well. I did find one really nice here. Check that one out. That was in a really thin spot. Oh, man. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I mean, like this ear here that's respectable. Yeah, where there's still some green somewhat down the plant. I mean, these are nice ears, and it's not super thin here, so there's hope for this field, but don't count on 200 plus bushel corn here. All right, I've got my box, and I think I figured out where it came from. So I have a seed customer down here, kind of on the way to or back from Berkey, whichever way you want to look at it, and he called me earlier this week, said, hey, I got one of your boxes here yet. I'm like, what do you mean you have one of my boxes? I didn't bring you any boxes. He only had 25 bags of beans ordered from me, and I took them in paper bags. So I was quite confused when he said he had a Golden Harvest box. And he is right next door to one of my other bigger customers. Turns out that customer had this guy plant some beans for him. And so he gave him a box of beans that ended up at their house, and it came from, yeah, that's where it came from. I was quite confused there. So, but we got it. We're heading back to my seed warehouse with it. Had a pallet as well, and we'll see if we got our disc ripper parts. It's it's almost 2 o'clock already. Okay, made it back to my seed warehouse. Let's get that box out of my truck and go back and work on our disc ripper. Dang, no parts. Well, I called the dealer. Parts will be here tomorrow. I had to order stuff. They'll come in tomorrow morning. So I'm getting frustrated. It's a good thing this was the start of the season and we're plenty early and we got lots of time and it's not too wet and we're not fighting to get stuff done quickly because, gosh dang, we've been down almost a week already. We haven't even started. So anyway, we're gonna go do some mowing. We got just a little bit of mowing left to do and then we'll be done for a while. Maybe we can unhook this and use this tractor for some other stuff. So out here behind the farm, over there, we've got a little bit of a pond or a low ground that we run a tile into, and then it's got an overflow into another tile, and it's wet almost all the time, but not now. And so I've got an opportunity to come and knock down some of these willow trees before they get big, like some of the other ones I've done. And maybe try and do it without getting stuck, because I've almost never been able to get down in here. It's always too wet. So I'm just trying, they're not real big yet, but I'm trying to get them before they get big. Yeah, you can see there's a wet spot there. There you can see the little pond a little bit better. We got a wet spot, we're gonna stay out of there. I don't really want to get stuck. Wouldn't be the end of the world because we're close, but I don't really want to get stuck. See if we can make a couple passes here in these cattails. Good enough there. So this wheat field I'm in right now was the last field of straw that they had to bale, at least of ours. I think they got everything done though. And we got a couple of these dikes in here, so I'm gonna mow these weeds down before we come and get it worked up. Which it's on the list, but it's low down the list of fields to work because this field did not get chicken litter spread on it. Well, looks like they're seal coating this road now today. Got half of it done, so we get to chip all our windshields now this next week. Yay! Okay, I'm done mowing for today. I don't think we have a whole lot left, really. I'm going to jump in the gator. I need to go talk to Dad. He's working over in the field where he's been moving dirt. And we're going to do a little crop scouting, too. Let's go look at some corn and some beans and see what we can find around here. Still moving dirt. He did get his waterway seeded here the other day, though. When my boys were over last night, Dad brought him over here and had him pick up rocks. Oh, which is what we got in the back, and he just told me to go dump it, and I forgot. We're going to go do that. All right, let's do a little more crop scouting here today. This is obviously cornfield that we're in is 07 F23, which is a 107-day golden harvest number, and it is a good old standby go anywhere hybrid that has been very good for us. It has excellent disease tolerance rating, so I don't expect to see a whole lot out here. Stuff is not real tall, which is kind of common this year with the dry weather we had the end of June when it was finishing growing vegetatively. But you can see how much greener we are underneath the canopy than that field we were in this morning down to Berkey, just because we've had so much more rain here. Not that we've had a lot of rain, but more than there. So looking at the leaves, they do look pretty healthy. This did not get a fungicide here. I did spray a little bit of this stuff early, but that was a long time ago. No tassel fungicides, so yeah, nice, healthy, good looking leaves. A little speckling on the end, but I don't think that's actually a disease. I think that's more when the leaves kind of rub against each other in the wind like this, it kind of rubs some of that leaf tissue off and the chlorophyll, and that's what that is from. So we'll peel back an ear or two here. Not bad, not bad at all. I'll take this. We got just a little bit of tip back, so this some of those kernels actually did pollinate, and then the dry weather, the ear has kind of aborted them. A lot of times they won't even pollinate, just the silks don't grow fast enough if it's dry, and then there's no pollen by the time they make it out the end of the year. These ones I think they actually pollinated and then died off, but that's minimal, not too bad. We still got a really nice ear there. I'd have to count, but they look like they're either 16 or 18 around, decent length, got good sized kernels. For as dry as we've been, that's pretty good. You can't complain about that at all. Now, whether the whole field looks like that or not, probably not, but That one's a win. Okay, now we're gonna focus on some beans. And yeah, a couple of days ago, somebody, or maybe this morning or yesterday, heck, I don't even know at this point, somebody asked me to do show some close-ups of some weeds and stuff, so to help identify them and what they are and all that. So we're going to do that as well. First, we're going to look at these fields. This is one of the fields we've been spraying manganese on and Roundup to try and control the giant ragweeds, which there is a few of over there. I just wanted to look and see what things look like here. They are quite tall and thin, and there's not a ton of pods on them, but they're thick. The plants are thin, they don't have a lot of branches on them, but they're like, I can't really walk through these because it's so tangled up. And yeah, it's pods per square foot that matters, not pods per plant. And we do have some pods. There's a 4-bean pod, a lot of 3s. They don't look bad. They got a lot of filling out to do yet, but not too bad. So I am seeing some speckling on these leaves. I'm not real sure what that is. Wade, if you're watching, text me, let me know. Let's see, what else do we got? Some disease there. These did get sprayed with a fungicide, I'm pretty sure. Ooh, look at all the nodules. Okay, soybean lesson today. And I think I've talked about this before, but we're going to do it again. So you see all these little knots on these roots? Those are the nodules that form, that fix the nitrogen. Basically, they're bradyrhizobia. It's a bacteria that's in the soil. Bugs are bad out here. And they kind of feed off the roots of the plants, form these nodules, and then they take nitrogen out of the atmosphere, make it available to the plant, which is a cool thing. That's why we don't apply nitrogen to soybeans. And there's a lot of them on here. They look good. So, fairly happy with these beans. This low ground here is muck. It's high organic matter. It's hard to grow beans here anyway, so they look good. Okay, weed time. Look at this one. This one is called giant ragweed. This is it in a smaller form. Got this unique shaped leaf here. They're sort of tough to kill. They really like our high organic matter soils. Most of what we have is not Roundup resistant, but there are Roundup resistant giant ragweed. These ones are obviously quite tall, and you can see why they're called giant ragweed. Fortunately, we've got most of them controlled out of the beans. There's a few right here on this edge, but my spraying it has kept them at bay. We're right around this electric pole where it's really difficult to spray them, which is why they're there. So that's one. I might have to go to the neighbors' fields to find any weeds. I mean, we don't have weeds in our fields. Okay, let's look at this field of beans, and we'll start with the beans, and then we'll look at the weeds that are quite obviously out here. This was the first field of beans that Phil planted with the bean planter, 15-inch rows. I believe it was April 24th. They're a 3.0, 3088s. And they're a little thin right here, but let's get out here into the field and see what they look like. Not 3088, I was wrong. 2788, 2.7. We're going to plant wheat here this fall, so these are a little bit earlier maturing bean. They're not super tall. That is this hybrid or variety. This is a shorter variety. So let me see if I can pull one of these. Ugh, ground's hard. Quite a nice stalk, lots of branches, and lots of pods. They are potted heavy. A lot of small pods, some 2-bean pods, not all 3s, not many 4s, which is going to cut down the yield a little bit, but there are pods. That's a nice bean plant. So let's see if we got any bugs on the back of the leaves. We've got some holes been chewed in it. I believe that's mostly grasshoppers. But I don't see anything, aphids or anything too serious that we need to worry about. I don't know what that is. Yep, nice plant. Look good. The pods are starting to get sort of fat. You can see there's some thickness to them. That's good. They will swell up more or quite a bit and then kind of shrivel back down as the beans dry out. There's what the beans look like at this point. Some of you may be familiar with edamame, I believe. It's just green soybeans. Fry them, some salt. Supposedly they're good. Not my thing. Okay, weeds. What do we got right here? This weed is our nemesis. This is what we call mare's tail. Some people may know it as horseweed. It's the devil. This weed can sprout in the fall. It can sprout in the spring. It could probably sprout most of the summer, which makes them difficult to control. They are Roundup resistant. We could spray this with Roundup. It will not touch it, won't do anything to it. And they will put on these giant seed heads and flowers and hundreds of thousands of seed on a plant. So yeah, they're not good. This field's got a lot of it, and there's nothing we can do about it because we can't spray them. We can go out here and pull them, but that's going to take a while. So yep, that's a mare's tail. That's our biggest problem weed right there. Right here on the edge of this field, we've got a little bit of a grass. This stuff here, this is foxtail. I believe it's yellow foxtail. Of all of the grasses that we deal with, this is one of them. It's not terribly hard to control. It's fairly prevalent. We get a lot of it, but Roundup still works really well on grasses. In soybeans, it's really hard to control broadleaf weeds like the mare's tail in soybeans, because soybeans are a broadleaf, and so we can spray chemicals on it that will kill the grass and not the beans, but it won't kill any of the broadleaves either. So we don't worry too much about grasses, but mare's tail, it's a problem. Okay, here's another field of beans. These are a 2.2 2230s. They're very early maturing for our area. They look pretty good. They're tall on me. I mean, they're waist high. Let's see what we got down in here. Decent pods. I got a little ways to go to fill out, which I'm a little surprised. They're not a little bit thicker, bigger beans. There's a 4-beaner. Good, good, good. They look healthy. Not a lot of holes in the leaves. Soaking up the sun. That's good. And they're clean. I don't see any weeds out here, except for that one. I would not be surprised if in the next 2 weeks these beans start maturing and turning yellow, starting to ripen up. We're towards the end of August here. Usually by the time you start seeing beans turning yellow and ripening, you got 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to harvest. And I wouldn't be surprised to be starting harvest by the 15th to 20th of September. So somebody's birthday. Thanks, guys. This is yeah. I don't really like these in our field. They get run through machines. Strings get wrapped in bearings and stuff. It's not as big a deal to me as it is to the livestock guys, because if this ends up in a hay field and goes into a hay bale or the silage or something and a cow eats it, big time problems. Don't do this. I found another weed worth talking about here on these end rows. See this one here? This one is called a velvet leaf, or sometimes button weed, because the seed pods look like buttons. That one's pretty easy to kill with Roundup. We don't have too much trouble with it. If you don't put any residuals in your soybeans, they will be full of those. But Roundup will kill them. So this one just got away on the end, but I don't see any of them out there in the field. Back to some corn here for a minute. This is one of our better non-irrigated cornfields, so I was curious how it looked and how this hybrid was holding up. We did spray fungicide here, but I think this hybrid was one that was a little bit more susceptible to some disease, so that was why we sprayed it. Leaves look pretty clean though. I don't see anything that's concerning. Some decent ears here. This one looks good. Not bad. This is kind of that old... so this hybrid is 08M20. And every time I've seen it in the past, it does this. Just the craziest crooked ears, rows that you could imagine. Like ugly, ugly ears. But the yield was there, so you plant it. And for whatever reason this year, we've gotten a lot of straight rows out of it. But that's more what we're used to. So, I don't know. Looks okay. I'm not disappointed. I'm not terribly excited, but I'm not disappointed here. Here's something we can talk about. So, I noticed this plant here. Nice big ear up top, which there's a gap, but there is another plant next to it. But look, this is a second ear on the same stalk. That it's not much of an ear, but there are some kernels there. And this one, it did pollinate, but you can see these kernels started to fill out, and then they just died off because there was not enough moisture to fill it out. Had we gotten some rain and kept some moisture right after we pollinated, this year would have filled out. We would have had 2 on that stalk. Pretty rare. Maybe in our irrigated corn we've got some, but we would have gotten a few kernels out of that. And of course we've got our coon damage out here, not even close to a woods. This corn's pretty tall. Okay, we are still in corn here. This is 09A86. Just a little bit of dent. I'm a little surprised actually that this is dented at 109 day. Not real great ears here. We are on a sand ridge. This corn has been rolled and not looking great a lot this summer. So pretty consistent ears though, which is the thing on this hybrid, is it is very consistent ears. Needs to be planted at a pretty thick population to be any good. I probably did not plant it thick enough here because I was in a split planter situation, and yeah, but it's short, but that's a girthy ear. There's a lot of kernels on it, and they are very deep kernels. So not going to be record-setting corn here, but not going to be awful terrible either. So we'll take it. I don't know if the camera will show it very good. Maybe the height difference, but I'm in a split row of a variety right here. This one is that 0986 that I was just in. This one is 10T63. Definite color difference. This one's a lot lighter. This one's a darker green, and this one, the T63, is a taller one. Very different ear type on this too. Let me peel a couple back. Very long, skinny ears. This one's got more girth to it than most of them do, but very, very long. 110-day corn, still dented. That's good. This one here's got a lot of tip back to it. That was a pretty spindly stalk, probably a late emerger. This 10T63 here, about 5-6 years ago, when it was new, it was winning every plot I had it in. It was by far the most dominant corn that we had in our lineup at that time. We've got newer stuff now that seems to be better, and this one's kind of fallen out of favor. I think this is probably the last year we'll plant any of it. But it was relatively cheap this year and had been excellent corn for us, which is why I planted it. Unfortunately, a lot of this field got flooded out and we had to replant it, so I don't have a ton of it out here. I wonder if that's because it's split. So not too bad. A little bit of gray leaf spot right there's a lesion, few on that leaf, but I don't see a ton of disease out here. This field did not get sprayed with an insecticide. That dark spot there is just pollen that accumulated on the leaf. So better than I was expecting out here with the sand that this stuff is planted on. So happy with it. One more cornfield we're going to look at. Right here along this edge we got some thistles. This is another weed that we deal with. This is a Canadian thistle, Canada thistle. Not really that hard to control. Roundup kills it pretty effectively. This used to be a huge problem weed for us before Roundup Ready crops, but anymore, not so bad. So the reason I wanted to stop and look at this field, this is one of the fields that we ended up tearing out and starting over with the replant. And so I wanted to see where it's at, growth stage wise, how it looks, and all of that good stuff. This is a 100-day corn, OH12. It is the same hybrid that we looked at in the field down to Berkey that was all burnt up. Right now, I'm already seeing something that concerns me big time. So We don't have any pollen, nor do we want any. It's the middle of August. But look, we have fresh silks growing out the end of these ears with brown silks underneath. That means it did not pollinate well. Let me pull the ear back and I'll show you. So immediately you can see how much smaller these ears are farther behind and how much more growing they've got to do. That's the month planting date difference. But these kernels on the end of this ear, some of those did not pollinate. And these ones aren't bad, but look at this ear. That one's no good. Sporadic pollination. This one's no good. It's behind. Crap. Our replant corn may not be near as good as we were hoping here. But nothing I can do about it. It was the right decision at the time. It looks okay. Just dry at the wrong time. You can see a lot of these ears that got these fresh silks shooting out the end of it. I don't like to see that at all. Okay, we've got one more weed we need to talk about in beans. And this field is one that I sprayed, but not our field. Do you see this one right here? That's what all of this is. This is the new one that is super concerning. And I haven't seen any of it in our field, which is why we're here looking at it. But I am almost positive this is a water hemp. And these things are nasty. Roundup doesn't touch it, clearly, because I sprayed this field 2 weeks ago. Not dying. And from what I understand, there's a lot of other chemicals that don't touch it, that should. So, welcome to the neighborhood. Something new for us to deal with, and it's going to be a problem. So, that one looks like a common ragweed. Giant ragweed's younger cousin, which should be dying. It's not. A lot of this other stuff is, though. You can see this died, and there's dead ones there. So it's just that's what we have. We have Roundup resistant weeds. You got to control them when they're small. We can't let them get this tall. So I got an email today, said they're coming to pick up these empty chemical totes tomorrow. So I figured I'd better get them ready. So got them all shrink wrapped onto the pallet and ready to stick on a truck whenever that truck shows up tomorrow. So that's good. And now it's after 6 o'clock, so I'm going home. So overall, our crops don't look terrible. You know, we could still use some rain. It's still plenty dry, but it's better than I was anticipating, I guess. As far as yield estimates, it's still pretty hard for me to guess and say. I think we've got at least 150 bushel corn, maybe better than that yet. I don't know. Another couple of weeks, or first or second week of September, maybe we'll go out and actually pull some ears and do some better yield checks on the corn anyway. Beans, if we get some rain and they can put some size on those beans, they'll be decent. But so our yield is made 2 ways. It's the number of beans and the size of the beans. And right now, the number of beans is shrinking because we're aborting ones off because it's so dry, and the size is not going to be very big if we don't get some rain, which is not setting up for great soybean yields. Will there be some 60 bushel beans around here? Probably, or at least spots. Are we going to average 60? I highly doubt it. We're going to average 50? Still can. We still could. I don't know if we'll get there or not. Just depends on the weather from here on out. So, but anyway, that's it for today. Have a great night. Our ripper parts are coming tomorrow. I called them and asked, and they will be here tomorrow. So we're gonna get that put back together and maybe start ripping tomorrow night. I might be running that. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to probably work down here getting this cleaned up, and I got a couple of signs to put back up in the plot there yet, and getting stuff ready for Tuesday, and I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of time between now and then to do it, especially if we start ripping wheat stubble and I'm in a tractor quite a bit. So that's my plan. Have a great night, everybody. Questions and comments, leave them down below. Hit that like and subscribe buttons for me, would you please? And we'll see you tomorrow.